What's this?
What?
Copycat. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday night OWCP Chats with Chris and Gini. And our special guest tonight,
everybody's favorite lawyer,
the famous federal attorney, Eric Blowers.
And having him on tonight is going to be great. He's going to talk about MMI schedule awards. He's going to answer your questions. Probably every question except how much is my schedule award? Because, there's a math equation that goes to that. But if he chooses to answer that one, then that's fine.
Yeah. So if you guys, if you guys could hold your, how much would I get for my knee, my hip, my arm? Because he can't sit there all night and try to calculate. There's so much that goes into all of it. So he can't give you accurate things. He will explain how it works.
He might be able to. He's pretty smart.
Each body part? Yeah.
Maybe. Let's see.
But he'll explain how you calculate it. And in book, what book?
2.
In book 2, is that the one he helped you write?
No, book 3 helped me write.
Okay. In book 3, you can look at all the calculations. And in book 2, if you didn't have it,
book 2 is where you see the calculations. In book 3, Eric wrote a great chapter.
Okay, I was backwards. Yeah. So if you want to do that. So everybody hold your questions. Don't forget to share. And there's a lot of you that don't know, and this goes for everybody out there. With the amount of content that we share and we spread over all, hundreds of our social media platform, we have over 400,000 views. That's great because, we're sharing to everybody's Facebook page. And if you don't want me sharing on your page, just remove me instead of deny the post. But this one is very important. You're going to hear
everybody
Eric
wants to know about this topic.
Hear everything, and we're going to get started. We're going to do our housekeeping at the end, so we give Eric all the time he needs. For really, really long questions, hold on to them because then you'll be able to just message me and I'll get them over to Eric and he'll explain everything from there.
Yeah, and just one more housekeeping item, and then we're going to bring Eric on. Tonight, in the interest of time, we want your questions, but try in the comments not to tell your whole story.
Yeah.
Because it'll be very hard to read, and it'll take a lot of time. So if you can just kind of get right to it, let us know what the question is, and we're all going to do our very, very best to get you the answers tonight on schedule awards. So
share, share, tell your friends he's on because he's only on for a limited time, and we won't bring him back till another 3-4 months or so whenever he has the opportunity to. So everybody, let's get some hearts and likes and welcome Mr. Eric Blowers, not Blowers, Eric Blowers.
Eric, hey, how's it going? So his Wi-Fi is also struggling a little. He's in a hotel in West Virginia. Hey, there you are. You got us, Eric?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I do, and I am having issues here at the hotel I'm at with the Wi-Fi, so I will do my best to keep everything going here. Let me know if you have issues because I can't see what you guys see. So,
yeah, no problem. Hey, we're really happy to have you.
You want me to start?
Happy to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. I am in West Virginia tonight for a APWU meeting up here in Bridgeport, West Virginia, and I am happy to talk about schedule awards. So, Chris and Gini, you said you wanted me to start with maximum medical improvement as the prerequisite to the receipt of a schedule award. And I get that question all the time. I'm sure you do also. At what point is someone at maximum medical improvement?
Well, actually, hey, let's start here, Eric. Here's what everyone's question is going to be. How do I get a schedule award?
That's $1 million question. I deal with this every single day. Depending upon where you are in the country, my answer changes. The problem is there's very, very few physicians in the country that know how to do rating examinations that would enable you to get a schedule award. There's even fewer physicians that know how to do it right. A lot of doctors, I see it all the time, believe they know how to do a rating exam. I've seen OWCP second opinion physicians do them wrong, regularly do them wrong. I've seen district medical advisors do them wrong. It's a very complex process. It's actually a confluence of legal and medical evidence together because the medical evidence comes from the rating doctor but the legal part of it comes from interpreting and applying the guides to the evaluation of permanent impairments, 6th edition, to the medical condition you're rating. The bigger issue is when you get the rating exam, you think you're ready to go and you think it's going to sail right through. That's just the start of the process. It gets submitted to OWCP. It goes to a district medical advisor. It comes back with questions for your physician because he or she probably did it not perfectly, or the district medical advisor is not properly interpreting the guides. We see that all the time. So it's a complex process. There's no easy answer, Chris and Gini, as to how you go about getting the schedule award. Most doctors won't even use the 6th edition of the guides to the evaluation because most state systems the 5th edition. And you have to question your doctor. Have you done ratings before using the 6th edition? We know that there are certain body parts you cannot get schedule awards for: the back, the brain, the heart. Those are the 3 main ones. So a lot of people have back injuries, significant back injuries. They're not going to get a schedule award for that unless there's radiculopathy that impacts extremities, the lower extremities, and even rating to do, because the first nerve is graded at 100%, the second nerve at 50%, the third nerve has factorization based on what nerve it is. It's a complex process. Sometimes we see something as simple as someone has a work-related injury, has had a hip. I would say 95% of the physicians in this country are going to rate that at 25%, when it probably should be rated at 37% if it's done correctly. So you're leaving significant money on the table if you do this wrong, and you don't know it. We in our firm regularly look at these rating exams from years before and say, this was done wrong. The doctor did it wrong. The district medical advisor did it wrong, or the doctor did it right. The district medical advisor did it wrong, and they're going with the district medical advisor over the treating physician, which they're not supposed to do. That creates a conflict. They're supposed to have a resolution of the conflict before they pay the award.
Yeah.
So it's a very convoluted process, and it's complex. We are moving into specializing just in schedule awards, and we like the hips and knees more than anything because that's where the most money is. I'd much rather do a case for someone where I get them a whole lot of money and they don't feel bad about paying me for my services, rather than somebody with a back injury who I'm just getting back pay for. It's very frustrating to me to have to charge somebody for getting something that they are entitled to. They're entitled to be paid. Schedule awards are kind of they are an award. They are a payment for a permanent impairment that you really half the time don't know the value of. And we bring value to the equation. We are able to maximize the value and possibly get more in the future because we follow up on what your condition is a year or two down the road. So the first step, I'll regress back to where I started, maximum medical improvement is what you have to have before you can go even think about getting a schedule award. And generally speaking, what I tell people is wait 1 year after surgery. If you've had a hip replacement, a knee replacement, a shoulder replacement, a year afterwards, you're at a fixed medical state. In the Guides to the Evaluation of Permanent Impairment, 6th edition, does set forth a definition, basically a fixed, stable medical plateau that you have to in order to get the schedule award. That's where it starts.
In other words, medically, though, MMI is a doctor saying you're as good as you're going to get. We've done everything we can, and that's it.
No.
It's time for your impairment rating, right?
No, I disagree with that, Chris. I think it's a fixed, stable state. No, I disagree. I think it's a fixed, stable state, meaning you're not going to get any better. You can absolutely get worse. So if you're at a fixed, stable state right now, you can go ahead and get that schedule award. And then you're going to need a knee replacement. There's one more thing. Well, there's many more things, but one thing people don't know is if you have a deprivation of your interval space measurements in your knee, and you're basically bone on bone, if you go get a schedule award right now, your schedule award is going to be twice what it would be if you were to get the knee replacement first. If you don't do this right, you're leaving money on the table. And we do it all the time. Hey, you're bone on bone in the knee. Let's get you the schedule award now, and then think about. I'm sorry, ask that question again, Chris.
Yeah, sorry, we have a little delay. Are you saying that you can get your schedule award before surgery? You're at that plateau.
Chris, ask that question again.
Yeah, can you get your schedule award before surgery? This is fun. I'm actually just leaving it there because I bet people are having a good time with this right now. So, Eric's. Okay, you froze there for a minute. So the question, Eric, now you're not frozen.
Chris?
Yeah, can you get a schedule award before surgery? Like get your whole award and then get surgery later?
Chris? I'm locked out.
All right, Eric's gone. Welcome back.
Oh.
He'll come back. No, just leave it there. He'll come back.
Okay, yeah.
So he's on location. Hotel Wi-Fi is not great. I think he and I were saying the exact same thing, but he did say something. I can't wait for him to answer it. I know I heard it right. I just wanted to hear it out of his mouth. And that is that the doctor can put you at MMI in the case where like you need a knee replacement, get your award and then get your knee replacement later. I think that's what he was saying. And the other thing I was saying is that, so MMI means it's a medical decision. You're as good as it's ever going to get. And he said, no, it means that, you're not going to get better, which is as good as you can ever get. But I didn't want to make fun of him there on a delay. And, but he said you can get worse. And in the event you get worse, you can get more money later. And I would have asked that question too, if his Wi-Fi was stable. So hopefully he'll be able to get back on and fix that.
Yeah, let me go ahead and get these little questions out of the way.
But don't go away. Eric will be back.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Hang in there.
Paul said, I can't get the doctor to put me at MMI. How close is the nearest FIC to do a schedule award right?
All right. Well, it depends on where you are. And Paul, we're not really sure where you're at, but let us know where you're at.
Tito Torres said, I've gotten my work comp case denied 4 times now.
Yeah. Where are you at, Tito? Because if you're at one of my offices, I want to know what happened so we can fix it. But I doubt you are. Although that does happen from time to time. As good as we are, we'll get multiple denials and we just keep going. I mean, the thing is, though, we keep going.
Yeah.
We never, ever give up. That's why we have such a massively successful accepted claims rate.
Yeah. Oh, Paul said he's in New York.
Yeah. So
we have an office in Manhattan and another one in Staten Island. And then if you're closer to the Jersey side, we have one in Edison.
But the question is, where's the closest place that'll do an award? And I'm not sure those offices are up and running yet for that. Hang on a minute. Eric's back.
Tito, you said you're in Land O'Lakes. Okay, so definitely Dr. K will be fixing that. And Eric is back.
Welcome back, Eric. Can you hear us now?
I can. I switched over to the hotspot on my phone. The Wi-Fi here in the hotel isn't real good. I'm sorry.
Fantastic.
Okay.
No problem. So I was asking you this question, and I think we're on the same page with it. But you said that a person in the instance of needing a knee replacement can be put at MMI bone on bone, get the schedule award, and then later on decide to have the surgery?
Absolutely.
And then the surgery can make them better, but they're not going to lose money from their award.
That's correct. You've got to be careful trying to go back in for another schedule award because your rating may be lower and they can't ask for the money back. So you're playing a bit of a game, but if you have advice from me, you're not going to screw it up. We continually watch people who have maybe a 3 millimeter joint interval space measurement today. A year from now, it's 2 millimeter. A year down the road is 1 millimeter. We keep getting them schedule awards.
And the smaller millimeter number is worse.
That's correct. It's more money.
Yeah.
The lower
you keep looking at it and like more x-rays and you're finding out you're getting worse. And what you said is when they get worse, you get them more money later.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And we're seeing even with some of those interval joint space measurements that we regularly get, we see the district medical advisors who are generally board certified, either occupational physicians or orthopedic physicians, arguing with board certified radiologists on what the actual measurement is. I would warn people not to do this. Don't go to an urgent care facility and get your x-rays done and expect them to be read properly. First of all, they don't know how to read them.
Right.
I would say your regular orthopedic doctor, if you ask them what your interval joint space measurement is, they're going to look at you like you're crazy because they don't care. All they care about is the grading of the osteoarthritis that's identified. You know, whether you're at a point in time where you need an unloader brace or you need knee surgery, you need a meniscal surgery, whatever it is, they don't look at it in the same terms that we look at it for evaluation for a scheduled award purpose. So it's a complex process, and it's very few doctors in this country do this regularly, are well-versed in it. And it's shocking to me how few there are. Even when you start talking about specializations like orthopedic doctors, they just don't pay attention to what the evidence we need to move forward with the good schedule award.
So let's do this. I had never asked you this question, although you've been on chat several times. But when someone comes to you and they tell you, I want to get my schedule award, I'm at MMI, their doctor doesn't know how to do it, and almost nobody does, as you just said. So how do you guide the process so that they ultimately end up with a valid award that's accepted and they get paid on it? What do you do? And I'm just saying, that'll be the reason they're going to call you. What are you doing to get them paid?
It's a good question, because I had one person call me one time and was asking questions, and she said, well, I don't need your help with the schedule award because I can fill out the CA7 myself. And I was I was taken aback. I said, is that really
a nice first step?
Is that what the belief is out there, that you just need to file a CA7 to get a scheduled award?
Well, just like letter D, you're all set.
Yeah, it's a very complex process. And it starts, honestly, Chris and Gini, with, is your case accepted? What's your case accepted for? Are you currently on OWCP compensation benefits for another injury or for the same injury? What is your overall medical status? What's your retirement status? There's a lot of factors that go into the equation of whether or not you're entitled to a schedule award, it's time for a schedule award, and what's the best thing for you in the long term. I look at a person holistically. What is their position in life? Are they a parent? Are they married? Do they have somebody that can help them if they go get the surgery? Are they nearing retirement? Are they a candidate for OPM disability retirement? There's so many things that go into the equation that no one ever thinks about, that we look at. And when you start the process, if the claim's not accepted, you got to start with gathering all your medical records. You have to do a full assessment of the medical records in order to even begin to consider filing an occupational claim for the occupational injury that you're going to allege, whether that be a knee, osteoarthritis condition, a hip condition, a shoulder. And then we get calls from people who we were talking before we started, a gentleman who has had an amputation, didn't even know that he could file for a work claim.
The injury itself.
Yeah, the injury itself. And it's sad. And I've got to confess that I was a federal employee and I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to spell OWCP when I was a federal employee. So, it's not simple. It's not as simple as filing a CA7. We have to gather all the medical evidence. We have to put together an employee statement. We have to arrange with a physician who knows what they're doing to properly write up the causation statement, the medical causation. We need to follow through with OWCP if they deny the claim. We need to appeal it. We need to ensure that all the requisite additional evidence is gathered. There's a lot that goes into it. Then once the claim's accepted, we then look at, is the person currently working? Are they on disability right now? Can they get the schedule award? Is now a good time for the schedule award? Should we move forward with OPM disability retirement so they can possibly double dip, getting OPM disability retirement contemporaneous with a schedule award? Do they have VA disability benefits? Because that could preclude you from getting the schedule award. Do you have other Social Security benefits you're collecting? There's a lot that goes into the equation. Nobody ever looks at or thinks about.
But you do. I mean, you're looking at all these things. This is second nature to you. And you're so much more expert at schedule award talk than I am, like miles ahead. And a lot of the people who are here are like, they're lucky that they get to hear it from you tonight and not from me. But they're all thinking, okay, so you just said it's hard, nobody can do it, you're going to guide us through it. But what if they're in an area like, you're in Charlotte? What if there's somebody like in Iowa? There's no doctors in Iowa, and you're guiding them to a doctor. How are they getting there, and how does this process work for someone who doesn't have a trained doctor anywhere near them?
You're not going to like my answer, but it depends. What's the injury? We're talking about a knee, a hip, a shoulder. We were talking before about somebody that had a finger amputation. Because that goes into sensory deprivation of the hand. A regular orthopedic can't grade that. That's got to be a hand specialist. So there's so many factors that go into it. But say a simple occupational knee in Iowa, we would probably send them to Chicago, depending upon whether the claim's accepted or not. And people sometimes don't realize that if they had a accepted meniscal tear 20 years ago on the right knee, and they've subsequently gotten or received a hip replacement on the right side that has nothing to do with work activities, they can get a very sizable schedule award because the leg is rated as a whole, meaning it doesn't matter whether or not the hip replacement was work related because they have an accepted condition on that leg already. Now, not every condition that's accepted is going to qualify for a schedule award. So again, it all goes into the initial equation. Where we're going to send the person, I can't say. I mean, it's one of those situations where every case is different, every person's different, and it breaks my heart sometimes to hear people who really need help and they're so far away from medical care that can help them. It's frustrating. It's sad. I know that there was a meeting with the director of OWCP 2 weeks ago trying to address this, but doctors don't want to get involved in this program because you know why, Chris and Jeannie, it's so difficult for them to get.
Yep.
It's hard. Yeah. But what you are saying is that, if someone in a remote area, like in Iowa, for that example, if they've got a claim that's approved and the diagnosis is, one that would warrant the award, and you can help them with that. If they're willing to travel, then you don't care where they're at. You can help them.
Yeah. Correct.
So basically for those of you that are out there, and Eric, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So it's definitely worth to fly to a different state.
Well, maybe, right? I mean, look, if your award is going to be $500 and it costs $600 to go, then it's not worth it, right?
That's correct.
And I think you were alluding to that earlier.
Yeah.
That I mean, it is correct. It all goes into the equation. Just somebody that says they can do a rating, and we see this in certain cities. The person maybe had some OWCP cases 5 years ago. They go to them for a rating, and I wouldn't start a fire with the paper that report's written on. They're horrible. It's sad that some people profess to know what they're doing out there, and I see this all the time. These doctors say, "Oh yeah, I can do that rating." They do it using the 5th edition. You've got these doctors the right questions, and we with the better cases that we see, meaning we know there's going to be a big payout. We then cover the cost to get the doctor, to pay for the doctor and that type of thing.
So do you mind if I ask some of these questions?
Yes, fine.
I've been looking at them. Okay. Normally she asks the questions for those of you that are new.
Which one are you on?
That's why I'm asking permission. Kimberly Peterson that says she's planning to retire before MMI and impairment rating. And can she claim her schedule award after retiring?
Yes.
I know the answer, but they want to hear it from you.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no time limit on when you claim your schedule award. However, this is a very a year ago, I didn't know this. And you said I know a lot about schedule awards. I know a lot. There's people in our firm that know way more than me about the guides themselves. And that's where you really
that's good for you, and it's good for your clients as well.
It is. I know enough to get me in trouble sometimes, so I'm still learning. I pick up the book every day and there's something and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. But if you don't do that on a daily basis, you're not going to get better. And these doctors are not doing that. These doctors do ratings. So the question was, what, Chris? I'm sorry.
Basically, can you still do schedule award after retirement?
Yes, but if you do it wrong, or if you don't file the CA7 and you die, your next of kin are never going to collect the schedule award.
So you got to get it done before death, get it all submitted before death.
You've got to file the CA7 before death. And then the issue comes out, do you want to take a lump sum on the schedule award, or do you want it paid out over time? Our recommendation is always to take the lump sum because they only reduce it by 3.96%. The rate of inflation right now is 6.5. You're losing money if you collect a schedule award over the life of the schedule award, 2% rate, 2.5% right now.
So financially, it makes sense to take the lump sum.
It does make sense financially to take the lump sum, and you've also got to validate that you have another source of income, or OWCP will not approve the lump sum. So if that's retirement, if that's OPM disability retirement, if that's Social Security disability, they generally just allow it to go through. And I don't think I've had any where they've said no to us. OWCP is reasonable, and they understand. They just want to make sure that this is not your sole source of income. You're taking it and going down to the racetrack and putting it on number 3 on the 4 p.m. race. So
you just said OPM, not OPM or OWCP is reasonable. What'd you say?
Well, OWCP is reasonable. They are. When it comes
so I'm gonna, before everyone blows us up for you saying that, I'm going to go to the next question. That OWCP is reasonable. This one said, Cynthia said, do you have to wait a year for your MMI rating? Because you said, the best thing is wait a year. You said that earlier. So the question is,
generally speaking, the district medical advisor will knock it back down if it's not a year. Unless you can justify that, you're back out there. If you had a shoulder replacement, you're doing pull-ups in 6 months. I think you could justify that as maximum medical improvement. But they look at a year as a guide.
You want to read that?
And we know that most people that get joint replacements are generally older, like me. I've had a joint replacement. I've had the knee replacement. I saw a question about a meniscal tear and now has a Baker's cyst behind the knee. That's normal. Even after my knee replacement, I've got a Baker's cyst regularly.
Yeah.
But I'll say this: had I known, and I was a federal employee, had I known about OWCP, I would have approached my knee issue differently. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So people that are listening or hearing this have a unique advantage over my situation. I'm glad I got the knee replacement, but I was bone on bone. I could have gotten a lot of money if I had pursued it properly. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Wow.
But I didn't.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So
yeah.
No, go ahead, Eric.
And you guys know somebody who has collected a lot of money on one person on a scheduled award.
It's everything I could do not to scream his name out. So
I hope I got to message him after this and ask him where's my cut.
No, we don't do that. For everyone that's new, we don't take a cut. Just kidding.
So Eric, first of all, you have to have your claim accepted. Your doctor has to say you're at MMI. And you file your CA7 and then you get your schedule award.
Not in that order.
Okay. So can you go over the order so they understand?
Yeah, I would correct one thing, Ginny. You don't have to have your schedule, your claim accepted. I think a lot of people sitting out there right now are saying, hey, I got pain in my knees. I got pain in my hips. I got shoulder issues. I very well may have osteoarthritis. And I've been a postal carrier for 25 years. I'm telling you right now, the standard is, did your work activities in any way contribute to the diagnosed condition, an aggravation of that condition, an exacerbation of that condition, or an acceleration of that condition? Then it's potentially compensable. So don't think just because your claim's not accepted, you can't move forward with trying to get a scheduled award. I would say probably 60% of the cases I'm dealing with now, people come to us to try to get their claim accepted because they don't know how to properly write it up. They don't know how to communicate or express to the doctor how to write it up. And doctors don't want to listen to people. Doctors do things their own way. You guys know that. You have a whole practice throughout the country because of the fact doctors don't know the process and kind of want to do things their own way. We have those doctors that we work with regularly that know how to write these things up and know how to get this thing through. So the claim's accepted. Again, it's difficult for me to say this is what always happens because every case is individually different. There's never a case with the same facts all the time. So, it takes a little bit of time for me and to even sometimes discuss it with other attorneys in the firm. How should we approach this one? They get complex. They really do. When you have multiple benefits involved, VA benefits, we see a lot of that now, Social Security benefits, OPM disability retirement, and or regular retirement.
Yeah.
We see them a lot in third-party cases too. The scheduled award is something that PI attorneys never consider as a form of damages.
Now,
PI case.
Let me pause you because either I heard you wrong or I've been teaching this wrong, and I must have heard you wrong. You can't get the money from a schedule award if the claim was never approved, right? You do have to ultimately get the case accepted, right? I mean, they're going to pay out money for something that's not their responsibility.
Yes and no. And you hate lawyers for this very reason. I hate lawyers for this very reason. If I have a claim that was accepted for plantar fasciitis, and 10 years later I have a hip replacement on that leg, you don't get the hip replacement, you don't get the hip issue accepted, but I can get a schedule award for that hip because it's in the same limb as another accepted condition.
But there was an accepted condition on that body part first.
That's correct.
Okay. Yes. All right. Now I'm with you.
Or you're coming to us to try to get that that medical condition accepted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You just got to realize that you can't sit there and just, and I was sitting downstairs at a hospitality room with some postal employees before, and people just sit there and say, they know of people who have these problems. They're clearly work related. People just don't want to come forward with it for whatever reason. They don't want to rock the boat. And I've told the story before. My mom was a postal worker for 23 years. She retired with horrible carpal tunnel. Even to this day, she still has carpal tunnel, and never filed a claim, never got a scheduled award for it. So people, I think our generation and people older than me just sucked it up and moved on. But
I
there's
call
a
it the
lot
rub
of money
some dirt on it thing, and we don't rub some dirt on it. We get it done. Ask that question there.
You're way.
Okay.
I have stuff above that.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so this is so you could answer this question how you want, because she's asking, how does a schedule award work for nerve impingement damage of the neck and shoulder area? And I know you're going to get a lot of these. So guys, when you're on here, I mean, he won't be able to answer every single body part because we have tons of questions. But in general, how does a schedule award work?
Well, nerve impingement of the shoulder or neck is going to probably result in some type of radicular symptoms, radiculopathy in the upper extremities. So that would be based upon a EMG or an NCVS study, a nerve conduction velocity study. Gini, what's EMG stand for?
The what?
Electro, I don't know.
Myogram.
But
myogram.
I was like, wait.
You've got to have that test in order to get the rating for the upper extremities. And generally, I won't take those cases, generally speaking, because they're not big schedule awards. There's very, 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 very few doctors who know how to do those properly. Even of the pool that I regularly go to, very few doctors know how to properly rate because you're rating individual nerves. A lot of those conditions result in CRPS, chronic regional pain syndrome, which has to be diagnosed by two doctors. I mean, there's a lot of different things that go into the neck and shoulder area with radicular symptoms. I don't like those cases. And I know they're debilitating. I know they are. I think a good option for people with those conditions is probably OPM disability retirement. You don't want to continue to aggravate that condition. And I see them all the time, but they're generally not cases that I take.
Can you get a schedule award for COVID?
Yeah, well, not for COVID itself, but if you have a lung deprivation as a result of COVID, and we see a ton of these where people's lungs were damaged as a result of COVID, yes, you need a pulmonary function test. Again, this is not an orthopedic condition. This is a pulmonologist who would have to do that rating. And we're seeing more and more of those and severe cases. I've got a couple where people lost half a lung from COVID. Yikes. But the problem is those people that were injured so severely from COVID are basically on OWCP for the rest of their lives. They can never return to work. Because they're on OWCP compensation, they cannot get a contemporaneous schedule award for the same condition. So in those instances, they may have to file the CA7 before they die so the surviving next of kin can get the schedule award. Again, individual circumstances, and you got to look at each of those cases individually. But yes, you can if there's a lung deprivation as a result of COVID, or there's been some other organ failures as a result of COVID and long COVID.
Just to follow up to that, because I know there's a question like this coming anyways. Explain to everyone why you can't receive OWCP benefits and schedule award payments at the same time.
It's a prohibited dual benefit under the Code of Federal Regulations. You cannot receive OWCP compensation for injury A and a schedule award for injury A. However, you can receive OWCP compensation for injury A and schedule award for condition B. So again, individual circumstances, you got to look at the cases, and we maximize. I've had a situation where somebody was receiving OWCP compensation for condition A, got a schedule award for condition B while we were in the process of getting them approved for OPM disability retirement, which they were double dipping the whole time. So I look to maximize benefits for everybody because that's my job. I'm here to get you as much money as we potentially coming to you and educate you. And most people don't know what their options are.
Okay, so here's the next question. My hip doctor said he won't do the surgery.
That's from Emma.
Yeah, sorry. Said it won't work. The surgery won't work. So my OWCP doctor gave her MMI for the hip, then had shoulder surgery almost 2 years ago. The doctor said that she's at MMI for that, then had ligament reconstruction on the left ankle, still healing. All injuries are one case. So all of this is on one case. Should I wait and see if I get MMI for my ankle?
Well, is she on OWCP compensation?
It doesn't say that here, but these are, I'm assuming, accepted claims, and I don't know. But
that sounds like a car accident. That sounds like a car accident.
Like that. Yeah, it does.
And so what's the question?
So there's a hip, a shoulder, and an ankle. Should she wait and see what happens with the ankle before doing a schedule award? Because the ankle's still being treated.
Well, she's not an MMI for the ankle, so she probably wouldn't be able to get the scheduled award. But if she's on OWCP compensation, she can't get a scheduled award anyway. So in that situation, I'd look at OPM disability retirement, regular retirement, possibly trying to figure out, if we can double dip somehow. I want people to get paid twice by the government if we can do that. So that's always my ultimate goal. If it's retirement and a scheduled award, if it's OPM disability retirement and a scheduled award, VA benefits and a scheduled award, there's a lot that goes into that. And there's other benefits out there. We've talked about before, PSOB, Public Safety Officer Benefit Program. There's some other specific to certain agencies, there's some legislation out there now for people that have been impacted by Havana syndrome. They're generally on the other side that we don't talk about in the federal government. People, there are some benefits out there for them. We've had a couple of those cases. So every situation is individually, has to be looked at individually to maximize benefits.
Okay.
Vinny said he received a schedule award at 13% in 2004, and they used the 5th edition, and now they're using the 6th edition. If the rating came less, would you have to pay the difference if the different edition for the impairment rating?
Yes, but generally speaking, the 6th edition is a little bit better. So I'd have to know what the condition is. Did he say what his condition was for the rating? 13 sounds
I don't know,
weird.
but you spoke to him today, Vinny, that guy.
I didn't. I was driving all day today.
Well, maybe somebody did. Yeah.
Somebody at the office did.
I don't know. 13% sounds weird to me. That may be a rotator cuff, bicep tendons tear, and maybe a slap tear on the glenoid labrum. That could get to 13%. But 13% is a weird rating. Maybe the 5th edition was a little bit different. I don't work with the 5th edition because it's been gone for 15 years now.
Okay.
But yes, if it's less, you would have to pay it back, but I don't think it would be.
Okay. Douglas said, how long after retiring can I file a claim?
Oh boy. If you're more than 3 years post last exposure, we're not going to touch it. There is a exception that says that your physician, you could be 20 years after retirement, and your doctor says, hey, right now you have osteoarthritis in the knee and it was caused by your work activities. So if you can prove that you just learned of the medical condition being related to your work activities, then you can file within 3 years of that notice. But those cases are difficult.
How many of those have you ever seen get approved?
A couple with rare conditions, Chris. We had one of a gold mine, a federal gold mine in Alaska. where it was diagnosed long after retirement. It was a lung condition. I don't think it was black lung, but it was something like that. And because it was a latent latent condition that was there for so long, that did get approved. But we look at 3 years post-exposure. That's what we look at.
Okay, Paul said, here's a related question, Eric. How much is the going rate to pay a doctor to do the 6th edition MMI narrative, even if you trust he or she will do it right?
What's the going rate?
And what are doctors charging for this?
Well, OWCP pays, what, $450, Chris?
Yeah.
I think $480 the most. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
We don't pay less than $1,500. We pay between $1,500 and $2,000, but we get them done correctly. And we maximize value. So I think every doctor in America would probably try to charge you $2,000 if they could. But and I see doctors in upstate New York always trying to charge $1,500. I got one in, and the guy professed he knew what he was doing. It came back with a 5th edition rating. I'm like, go back and get your money. Then the doctor wouldn't give her money back. So doctors, the good doctors are out there. We know who they are. We don't tell who they are because they would be inundated, and they want us interacting with them. They don't want to have the full responsibility for doing everything themselves, because we get calls from those doctors. Hey, this is what I found. What's your opinion as to how we should apply that to the guides? Because the guides are a legal book, taking medical information, applying it to legal principles. So it's a give and take between the lawyer and doctor. It's not just the doctor knowing everything, because they don't do this every day. They don't see the practice. They don't deal with the district medical advisors. They don't read the appeals. They don't know how it's being interpreted by the Employees Compensation Appeals Board. There's a lot that goes into it.
Okay, go ahead.
So I had a couple of questions. I'm just going to put them together because I think they're going to go together.
Okay.
This one, and I've heard you answer this to me before, but it's good that they hear it from you. This person says that, I'm skipping down, I have an attorney, but he seems like he's not responsive to my calls. What should I do? My attorney's not responding to me. Can I switch to you, Eric? That's what I heard. So you have a policy on this that has to do with your law license.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a violation of our rules of ethics to have any conversation with a represented person if I know them to be if I know them to be represented. I do see a lot of attorneys across the country who do state workers' comp, and they think that federal workers' comp is analogous to a regular state workers' compensation claim. They are two totally different animals. It's like a horse and a puppy. They're just different animals.
Yeah.
You can't, if you don't recognize the limitations of your practice, you're going to commit malpractice. And I get calls all the time asking if I'll do an EEO case or if it's a wrongful termination. I don't do that crap. I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't want to learn it.
But you refer to somebody who does in those cases, right?
We do have an EEO attorney we refer people to. VA disability, I started doing that. I don't like it. It's totally different. I don't do them anymore. I refer people out. But if their attorney is, I can tell you right now, we're the only attorneys in the country that specialize in only scheduled awards.
Right.
There are some other competent attorneys in the practice area that know what they're doing. Some better than me. They don't specialize in it. They do it along with regular workers' compensation cases. We're tending to get away from regular workers' compensation cases because of the reasons we said. They're frustrating. Back injuries suck. There's no way around that. There's no other word for it. I hate the fact that we're not able to help everybody. And it's frustrating to me that we spend so much time and effort on cases when people end up owing us a lot of money and they can't pay us. And I don't like those cases. I want to help people. I want to maximize value. I want to get them what they're entitled to. The schedule award arena is where we find we best utilize our expertise and our resources to get people something and what they deserve, really.
So we only have like 15 minutes left. And again, thank you so much, Eric, for being here and helping out. I'm going to ask one question to cover every question that sounds like this question.
Okay.
Then we don't have to re-ask it every time. How do you want people to contact you?
I'm not in the office tomorrow, so this is really easy. They can call our office, and we will take the information and either direct them to proper person in our firm to speak with, or refer them to who we think they need to talk to. But they can just call our office. The telephone number is 704-607-8870. They can call tonight and leave a message, and Carly, our the person in our firm who answers the phone, will call them back. So just call and leave a message and say what you need help with. So there's a lot of people out there that I think, even here tonight, I was talking to people who recognize they have issues with their joints and it's work related. I encourage them to make that phone call, because those are the people that we can help the most. And those are the people that need the most help, especially, like you said, Chris, if they're in a rural area. Even in major metropolitan areas. You think, Miami, how often have we fought trying to find a good orthopedic down there that knows how to do the 6th edition?
Yeah.
Daily. Yeah, it's all the time.
And it's not just a doctor to do the rating. You want to establish a relationship with a physician who can also do a replacement if it comes to that point in time. So it's not, and we look at that. We say, this person can do the rating. This is the person who you can go to for treatment, or sending you out to physical therapy. We know where to send people to physical therapy, don't we, when they need help. So
another thing, I'm just going to cover all of these. We have a lot of people that are asking, how much money can I get for this? Yeah. I'm just going to say it depends. And I think you're going to say that too. But your phone number again, if you could just say your office number one more time, because somebody asked.
And I'm going to put it down too, and then I'll pin it at the bottom.
But go ahead and say your number again, Eric.
It's 704-607-8870. And Chris and Gini, that's actually a good question, how much money they can get. Let me tell you how the formula works, so you have some indication as to what you're looking at. A leg is worth 288 weeks of your salary. So figure out what your salary is per week, multiply that by 288. That's what your leg is worth. Your arm is worth 312 weeks. So figure out your salary per week, multiply it by 312. That means if you have a condition on either of those body members, that's the starting point. Your salary and the valuation of the limb. You then go to, if you're bone on bone in the knee, that's 50% of your leg. And trust me, 50% probably doesn't properly cover. I've been there. You can't hardly walk. If you are bone on bone in that knee, it kills you until you get that knee replacement. And that's a godsend. But you make a lot more money. You get a lot more money if you go get the schedule award when you're bone on bone, as opposed to waiting for the knee replacement.
Yeah.
You can also add different conditions. So if you have a hip replacement and a knee replacement on the same leg, you're basically going to be adding 25% times 2, so you're at 50% there. Or if you're bone on bone in both legs, you're going to be in the 80% range. So there's a lot of factors that go into it.
This one is from Ron. What's up, Eric? What's up, Chris and Gini? What is a percentage for shoulder injury? Right rotator cuff tear, right bicep, and right labrum tear, and both right and left shoulder impingement.
Shoulder impingement doesn't get you a whole lot. If you have a slap tear, so the glenoid labrum, superior labrum, anterior to posterior, rotator cuff, and a bicep tendon, you're in the 12% range, generally speaking. Those cases are pretty easy from a scheduled award perspective. They're horrible with a recovery perspective. If you're a postal carrier and you're obligated to carry 70 pounds, 75 pounds, whatever it is today, it changes, seems like every week. You have those injuries, you're basically done. You better be calling me for OPM disability retirement if the post office is not going to accommodate you into a permanent work position. So it's generally 12% for those three. But you're probably also going to need a shoulder replacement at some point in time in your life. So it's going to go from 12% they paid you to 25% later on.
And then can you explain, just because they live in a different state and you're in a different state, can you still take anybody that lives in a different state?
Yes, this is a federal practice. So we actually have an office in Charlotte and now one in Boston. We take people from across the country. We do not have any restrictions on our law license because it's a federal practice. We're dealing with a federal agency. I'm licensed in North Carolina and in Ohio. I'm not active in Ohio. I could activate if I just paid them the fee, but it doesn't matter where the person's coming from because we're dealing with the federal government. So we represent people. I think there's 1 or 2 states I have not had somebody from yet. And I can't even think what they are off the top of my head. So maybe North Dakota. I don't think I have somebody in North Dakota yet.
Somebody asked, where did it go?
Do you accept people from Puerto Rico? Yeah,
Yes.
but I'm going to answer for Eric. But to do that, he and I both have to come down there and see you in person.
Oh,
I'm going to be in Puerto Rico in 3 or 4 weeks for a conference down there. So yeah, so I've never been to Puerto Rico. I've flown over it a bunch, but never been in it.
There you go.
Liz Nelson said, what if you had the surgery 2 times? Would it be doubled, meaning her schedule award?
No, it's still based upon this is a good question, because it precipitates how they calculate the award. There's DBI and there's ROM. DBI means a diagnostic based impairment. So a knee replacement, that's a diagnosis based impairment, that's 25%. A ROM is a range of motion. So if you've had a knee replacement and you've got horrible range of motion, you may be way over 25%. You're entitled to the more financially incentivized award. So if the range of motion gives you a 30% and the diagnostic base gives you 25%, you're entitled to the 30%. But
you
again,
always get the greater dollar value of each.
You do, but doctors sometimes, if they don't know what they're doing, don't do both range of motions. And not every injury allows range of motion or DBI. There's certain conditions that you're not allowed to do that. So you've got to have a experienced practitioner who's doing the rating, does ratings both ways. And a lot of times we find they don't do them properly. You will go back and say, hey, doc, you did it this way. We appreciate it, but this is the way the guides require it, and or this is how it's being interpreted currently by the Department of Labor. So go back and do it again, and let's get the higher rating so we can get the person more money.
Right. Okay. Tammy said, now that we have Scott's case approved, I know he's not at MMI yet, but do we file a CA7 from the time his injury 7/28/15? What are the next steps we can take in his case? He's also on Social Security disability.
Let me give you some background on that so you can more thoroughly answer the question. So she's not talking about schedule awards yet. You know about this case. Scott was on with us, a little while back. Fell, hit his head, had a stroke, finally got it accepted by the grace of God. And now he's getting, therapy to get better, but he's got deficits in his arms and legs as a result of, this whole ordeal. The question is, do they go back to the day one of the injury and try to get paid back for all this time he wasn't able to work, that the post office and everyone else was screwing him over?
That's not a schedule award. That's going to be a wage loss claim.
Right. And that's what she's asking about.
Yeah. Yeah. You can, well, if you have medical evidence that establishes a disability dated back to the date of injury, then yes, theoretically, you can get paid all that money. And
right. So that's a yes to Tammy.
I use those words very carefully. Theoretically, yeah. Let me say one more thing about pay rates and pay. You just precipitated a thought. You are entitled to a pay rate based upon your date of injury. So if your date of injury was 2010 and you've not worked with the post office since then, your pay rate is going to be based upon your 2010 pay rate. It's unfair. That's the way it goes. However, if you continue to have an exposure to the work activity that caused the impairment, then your date of injury is now your date of last exposure. So again, these are factors that I see all the freaking time. Claims examiners miss this, and it's a ton of money that you're leaving on the table, and it's worth hiring an attorney, paying them for their services because you're going to be putting $50,000 more in your pocket. It's well worth it. And nobody wants to pay a lawyer. I don't want to pay a lawyer. I don't want to pay a doctor. I want everything for free. But if you want good quality representation or good quality medical care, you've got to seek it out, and you got to get it done right, or you're going to leave money.
Right. Okay, I want to ask this question from Siobhan, but don't answer it until I follow up with my thing. But her question is, can you receive work comp and Social Security disability at the same time? I want to ask it a little differently and try to explain this as simply as you can. At the end of every year, hundreds, if not thousands of people are getting letters, and they're telling us that they're getting told they owe money back from dual benefits. What are the different ways someone is going to get that letter, demand letter saying, pay me back? if you get this and this at the same time, they're going to ask for it back. What can you not receive at the same time?
It's not a fair question.
I know.
Because I don't know what type of Social Security we're talking. She says disability. So Social Security, disability, and then there's regular Social Security. Then there's OWCP. Then there's offsets. And when the offsets kick in also comes into play. So the question is, can you receive both? Yes, you can receive both. However, the offsets make your OWCP disability compensation taxable, because Social Security won't pay you because you're receiving money for the same injury from OWCP, but at the end of the year, they impute that income to you because Social Security payments are taxable, OWCP is not. So they say if you're getting $1,000 a month from Social Security, you're getting $1,000 from OWCP. Social Security may reduce it down to $500 a month because you're getting $1,000 from OWCP. But at the end of the year, you're going to pay taxes on that $1,000 even though you didn't receive it. So again, individual situations, individual analysis. I sometimes tell people don't take Social Security disability because you're going to be paying money on your OWCP compensation that's supposed to be tax free. And there's very few people that understand those offsets or consider them. Generally speaking, schedule awards are not offset by anything other than OWCP disability compensation. That's the only offset you get.
Okay. So I don't know how you break this down simply. Why are people getting demand letters at the end of the year to pay money back to the government?
What happened about a year or two ago was Social Security and the Department of Labor somehow got their computer systems to start looking at each other. And they said, hey, we've got overlapping payments here. You're supposed to let both OWCP and Social Security know if you're receiving benefits from the other. Well, people didn't do that for years and years. And when the computer systems finally started merging up, they saw all these overpayments and they started sending all these overpayment letters and demands for money, or they're cutting benefits down until those overpayments are paid.
Yeah, that we get so many.
I know
people calling and like frantically saying, "What in the world? They're making me pay back thousands of dollars. What happened?" And
I've seen over $100,000, and I won't take those cases because I can't help them. I mean, I can tell you right now, there's nothing I can do. We can ask for them to be nice, to give some dispensation to a particular medical condition or financial hardship. But generally speaking, I can't do anything on those overpayment situations. I just can't.
So Tammy had a follow-up question about Scott. She said, do I hire Eric to get Scott his wages, or do I wait until MMI?
No, you should. First of all, you don't need me. If you've got the medical evidence that shows that he was disabled and unable to work all during that time, all you have to do is file a CA-7 from the date he went out until today, saying, hey, he's on LWOP, lost wage without pay, from 2015 until today. They've got to issue a decision on that. If they deny it, that's a time to start thinking about calling somebody. I would probably refer that one out. Although maybe not. If it's 8 years and there's good medical evidence, it may be a case that we would look at. I just can't say without seeing.
Well, I can contest that there's good medical evidence, including the head of neurology at Rutgers University, who's triple board certified, and said, "What the hell are you people doing at OWCP?" So the evidence is pretty strong.
That's clearly not going to be sufficient.
Well, there's also medical evidence over here, but yeah.
Yeah, that's too easy. OWCP would never accept that, Chris.
It took about 8 years for them to say yes, so it wasn't easy for Scott, but yeah, I get the point.
Yeah.
Here's a question. It says, with the cost of living going up, does workers' compensation pay the increase?
In March of this year, and generally March of every year, it's not called a COLA. Yes, there's an increase every year. They don't call it a cost of living increase like you get with your retirement benefits, the COLA they get every year, but there is an increase every year. And I think it was 3.6% this year or something like that is my recollection. But yes, there is an increase of OWCP benefits on a yearly basis. You also, if you're on OWCP for a long period of time, you get a 1% increase in your retirement benefits. because you're not making contributions to your thrift savings plan, and neither is the government making matching contributions. So that's also in the statute.
Okay.
What other areas of practice do you handle for federal employees?
Besides schedule awards.
Yeah. So they know.
You both know I've kind of specialized in third-party cases, car accidents. And I will take those. I've gotten to the point now where simple fender benders, there's so many, I can't possibly deal with all of them. But we've got people, I mean, you guys know I deal with postal workers who are killed regularly and trying to resolve those cases. Severe accidents, even something where I hate to say this, and we've had this conversation. That's why I helped you with that book, Chris. A lot of these rural carriers don't understand when they're in their vehicle, their automobile insurance may not cover them when they're in that vehicle. They don't read the policies.
Oh, you're telling me about that the rural carriers had a policy that it excluded anything on the job?
Yeah, if they're using their vehicle for work purposes, they're not covered. So, it has to be the fault has to be somebody besides the federal worker. And it has to be a pretty substantial accident, but we do take those still. And other injuries, we've got the one young lady who got in an elevator and the elevator wasn't there. She fell on the floor.
For those of you that just heard that, can you imagine stepping into an elevator and the elevator's not there?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
And we take anything where there's third-party liability and it's a significant injury. We'll look at those cases. And honestly, it's important if you have a case like that to at least call us, because if I don't take the case and I refer you to another attorney, I have to educate that attorney, because a lot of these attorneys mess those cases up. You've got to pay the government back a workers' comp lien. It's actually called costs under the statute. But there's ways to maximize the value on those cases too that these attorneys don't consider. So if I get a case, if I got a call tomorrow, if somebody was in a serious accident in, say, Mississippi, what I'm going to do is probably take the case, but refer it to a Mississippi attorney who I will work with to ensure the person gets all their benefits from OWCP, which is sometimes more valuable than the settlement on the third-party case, or going to litigation in the third-party case, or driving the value in a third-party case. People don't realize they're not entitled to all the money that they get in a third-party case, and attorneys don't tell them that. Yeah. Attorneys say, don't worry about the federal workers' compensation benefits, but that's the best benefits you're going to get for a lot of people.
So you do schedule award, third-party accidents, anything else?
Not right now. No, scheduled awards is kind of the future, because we see so many people out there have no idea, and it's so difficult to get the medical care. We're trying to specialize in those cases right now, and I'll take the serious third parties.
But it's important that everybody understands that if they call you, because now everyone's got your phone number. If they call you and you don't take that particular type of case, you do know all of the federal lawyers in the country, and if there's a way to refer them out, you'll find someone who does specialize in them.
Oh, trust me, we refer people every single day, and I'd rather have them call us, and we'll refer them out to somebody that can help them.
Yeah,
we've got a bunch of attorneys out there who are ready, willing, and able to help, but people don't know who they are, and they don't advertise because we're so busy.
Right?
Yeah.
You've never seen an advertisement by me on any social media platform. We have a website that we just updated after 3 years yesterday. So we're in the process of becoming better at getting the word out on schedule awards, because we think that's where we really add value, because I see so many cases where people are just they're not getting the maximum value that they're entitled to.
So this question is after an hour, and this is a testament to to how awesome our audience is. See, for me, everyone, their first question when I'm talking is, hey, Chris, how do you get paid? It took us an hour for someone to ask what percentage you take. Now, I know the answer, but will you explain how, by law, how you're allowed to get paid?
Yeah, we don't take a percentage. We bill hourly for our time, and I've had some significant schedule award cases that I had hardly any billing in. I mean, I remember one guy got $165,000, and I think I billed $1,500. That's definitely not the norm.
That's an outlier.
It is, and we've had cases where we don't take more than a third. Now, we don't take a third, but we don't take more than a third.
You cap it.
So we cap it. And we've had people that keep coming back for schedule awards. So you come one time here, we build $10,000 in a case, and we can only take $5,000 because that's 1/3 of the award. but they keep coming back. And I've seen cases go from 15,000 to 50,000 to 200,000. So you may think that, we're doing a lot of work to get it up and going, but we know it's a long-term relationship and you're going to continue to get money. I saw a question about OPM disability, and I share the frustration people have. We do these OPM disability cases, we submit everything in, and they get stuck in the process. Either shared services in Greensboro doesn't do what they need to do to get it over to OPM. It gets to OPM, it sits in a black hole and gets reassigned to claim examiner after claim examiner. And these things don't get decided. It's more frustrating for us than it is for you. If we've done this whole process, we're waiting and waiting and waiting. We have tons of these cases where we just can't get the Office of Personnel Management to do their job. It's horrible. And OPM is the worst.
So 2 things. I'm just going to quickly answer them myself because we're over on time anyways. Maria says, what's OPM? OPM is federal disability. And then someone said, can I switch lawyers or can I switch to Eric, I think. And correct me if I'm wrong, and it's fine because you usually do. They have to dismiss their current lawyer before you can talk to them. And you're probably not going to encourage them to fire their lawyer.
No, I want people to foster the relationship they have with other attorneys. I do. But at the same time, I recognize some attorneys take cases that they shouldn't. And it's frustrating. I would have a frank conversation with that attorney and say, are you able to handle this? How many of these have you done? If they, and I have a lot of attorneys that say, I can't do that. I don't know what I'm doing, to their credit for saying that. But if it gets to that point, we can certainly have a conversation. And I just can't talk to you if you're represented by another person. And I know that.
So to be very clear to, I'm sorry, I don't see well. Michelle, I think it is, MISSHEL.
Yeah.
The question is, how do I switch lawyers? So Eric is saying, well, you don't necessarily need to switch lawyers, but you might need to have a conversation with him. But he can't talk to you if you're already represented. And that's a lawyer thing. That's not an Eric thing.
That is the lawyer thing, yeah. And I don't violate rules of ethics. I've got plenty of work. I'm not going to get myself in trouble. I won't do it. I saw one thing that said, "Thank you for recommending me to Christina Falero." Christina is phenomenal.
Yes, she is.
You guys know Christina.
Yeah, she verbally slapped me around pretty good last time we were.
Oh yeah, that was right.
And I've had her on the show. I'm like, hey, I thought we were friends.
Oh, she tells it like it is.
Yes.
I love Christina.
She does.
Yeah.
So,
and she's good. She's good.
Linda says, are you currently working on any disability cases that you were hired for a year ago?
Yeah, those are the ones I was talking about that are probably sitting at OPM waiting for a decision.
There's fewer government workers than there are government employees. No, fewer government workers handling this thing than government employees that need it. So there's probably a lot of backlogs.
Well, we've got cases. I think the oldest is about, we had to appeal it, probably about 18 to 20 months old, a couple of them like that. So if the case is sitting out there and you've not heard from us from a while, call over to the office, talk to Amanda. She handles our OPM disability retirements. She will reach out to OPM and we'll get a status update. It may take 2 weeks to get a status update, but we'll check and see what's going on with it. It's frustrating, I know, and I feel sorry for people that came to us to get the help, but it's not us. I'll tell you, 80% of the time, it's shared services. It's getting screwed up at shared services. Or I've seen cases where supervisors are required to fill out some paperwork for OPM disability retirement. They just refuse to fill it out. Like, that's your job, but they just refuse.
Right.
So there can be a lot of different bottlenecks in that process.
Yeah.
So everybody on here, he takes schedule award. He does third-party accidents.
In other words, you're in a car wreck driving for work or other things that's someone else's fault.
Right. And we do OPM.
OPM
disability.
And then what about Social Security disability?
That's not his.
So if they call you, you're going to refer them out. You have somebody for that? Okay, guys. So if you need a question get handled for Social Security disability, contact Eric's office and they'll refer you out.
Well, it depends on where they are. Right. I don't have somebody all over the country. If you're in California, I don't have somebody out there. I'd probably say call Dan Goodkin. Goodkin is in Thousand Oaks.
Yeah,
they're a good firm. They handle them out there.
Guy.
Yeah.
And in Texas, I'd say Deborah Hauser. I'm not sure Deborah's doing Social Security, but there are other attorneys around the country. We'll give you some suggestions on who to call.
Yeah.
And I know we're finished here. And I know you hate this, dog bites.
You know who hates them worse? Letter carriers.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Explain
I mean,
briefly what the situation is with you, that being third party, and how you go about handling it and the rules and laws about that.
well, here's a problem with third party when it comes to dog bites. Yes, there's a third party that is generally at fault, the owner of the dog. However, a lot of states in this country have something called a one free bite rule. If you cannot establish the dog has a history of having bitten someone, you're as SOL. I mean, you can't do anything with it. You're not going to be able to establish liability.
So letter carriers, the dog gets one free bite. Suck it up.
In a lot of states, North Carolina is one of those states.
Yeah.
It's a legal rule that goes back to England. I don't know. I don't know why.
Well, in England, it's bound to be right.
So if
it's been codified in a lot of states. So the other problem, Jeannie, is a lot of people don't have insurance.
Right.
So to somebody that has no insurance. You know, a lot of people have it on their homeowners policy, but people generally that are responsible dog owners don't allow their dogs to go out and bite postal workers. We had one where the lady had a severe lower leg, basically took a good portion of the lower leg away. The person who owned the dog moved out the next day back down south. We never saw him again.
Oh my God.
So how do you sue somebody who went back to Mexico? You can't. So there's a lot of problems with dog bites. A lot of problems.
So where would they find? So if I got bit today and I'm a letter carrier, where would I find the information in whatever state if I'm allowed to call you or not? Like, you know, this one free dog bite. Where would I find the information about that?
Just Google it. Google it. Say, does Mississippi have a one free dog bite rule?
Okay, guys, do you hear that? Just Google it.
One free dog bite rule in my state.
Yep.
Okay. We got other questions coming in, and I want to answer them all. Kimberly, I'm not going to get them all, okay? But Kimberly said that she broke her leg on the job. She's on YouTube. YouTube. And she has a 10-inch rod in her leg now. Ouch. I am suing the paving company that caused me to trip. Can I get compensation from her agency?
Too many facts that I don't know the answer to answer that intelligently. Is she still working? She's suing the paving company. You're going to probably have a cost situation there where you have to pay back the money to the government. The 10-inch rod, you certainly need to be looking at a schedule award. It's going to be a big schedule award, and that's going to drive the value of the third party case.
Say your phone number again, Eric. Say your phone number again.
If anybody's looking for Eric's phone number, if you look down below, I know I pinned it down below, so it's on there as well.
Okay. There's a question about whether or not having surgery increases a schedule award. It does not. Sometimes it actually decreases the value of a schedule award. So if you have bone on bone in the knee and they're telling you need a knee replacement, it's 50% before the award. It's going to be 25% after the award. Yeah. So surgery does come into play. It's a discussion we'd have to have. What's best for you at this point in time in your life, and what is your future looking like? What other options do you have available to you out there?
So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, we'll have Eric hop off. And those of you out there, we try to bring Eric on like each quarter. So probably midsummer or end of the summer, we'll bring him on again. And then right before the holidays come back, before Christmas, we'll come back on again with him. So he's really busy. So thank you so much.
And Eric, again,
for
tomorrow
your time.
You're in West Virginia because you're waking up tomorrow to go hang out with a bunch of clerks in West Virginia at an APW convention, right?
That's correct.
And you do this all the time, right? You're now, or you don't, but you're going to start going to these all the time.
Yes, more conventions, just to get the word out there, to try to. And the good thing about who we're here meeting with is these people help their union stewards or their union representatives to go back out and pass the word.
Exactly.
So it's good to talk to these people to let them know what is available out there. So it's a force multiplier, really, to get the word out there, what's available, because most people don't really know. Schedule awards are something I never heard of one when I was a federal employee. I just had no idea. But I do appreciate you allowing me to come on, because people just don't know this stuff, and you guys are helping so much. I'm glad that it is a situation where you guys can offer medical care to them around the country, because I can't always do that. Ongoing care to a lot of these people is the only option they have, especially with back injuries. You know that.
Yeah.
Back injuries are not, there's not a surgery that's going to fix a lumbar region injury that's going to last forever. So thank you for what you do. And I'm just glad that I could offer some advice. I'm not sure how good it is,
well,
but
it's only the best. So, every time you're on, Eric, or that we just talk, so people don't know, a little inside baseball, Eric and I will have a phone call, but the phone call, if it lasts 45 seconds, that's a long time. Because we're just like, okay, we did it already. Got to get back to work, right? They're always fast. And like, did I say bye? Because it's that quick. But,
well, recognize I'm not the only person out there that does this. There's good people. There's Wayne Johnson in Florida. There's Jeff Zealander in Chicago, in Philadelphia. Yeah. Obviously, Shapiro and Associates in Boston. They're the best at schedule awards, and that's who we're now associated with. We're here to help people, but we're not it. There's other people around the country that are good at this, just not many of us out there.
Right.
So when it comes to schedule awards, I don't think there's anybody better, but there are people that can help you because we can't do them all. And if you call and say, hey, I'm in California, I'm going to probably refer you to Goodkin because they've got the doctors out there. I don't.
Well, he's a good guy. He cares just like you do.
They do care. They do. And we're trying to help people. That I can't help everybody. I wish I could, but I just can't do it all.
Yeah.
With the phone number that you gave everybody, the 704-607-8870, if they wanted to talk to somebody in the Boston area, in your new Boston office, will they just call that same number and they'll get to Boston?
Call us. I'll assess the case, Gini, and then we'll have somebody from Boston call them back if we're going to put it up there. So it depends on what the injury is. Hips and knees, yes, definitely Boston.
Okay.
If somebody calls me and tells me that they need a shoulder replacement, they're probably going to go Boston too. It just depends on what the issue is. But we look at every case individually and make a referral. We send a lot to Deborah Hauser. We send a lot to Christina. I try to get some down to Wayne in Florida because Wayne is good. Wayne has been doing this for 20 plus years.
Yeah,
20 plus years. So there's people out there besides me. I'm not the only answer. I am the only former federal employee that does this. I'll say that. I don't know anybody else that was a federal employee that did it. But thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Everyone appreciates it. Everyone is saying nice things about you because they like you better than me. And
they don't know me.
I'm ready to get you off here so they'll forget you and remember that I'm here too.
We will see you next month, Eric, in Orlando.
Really man. You're a good guy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Take care of you all.
Yeah, see you, Eric.
Bye.
All right, guys. So
we're going to hang around and talk a little bit, so don't go away.
That was awesome. Every time Eric is on, and we try because he's always having something to do, so we just don't want to keep him on too long. So,
but you should know, so we bring Eric on because on top of everything else, he's one of our really, really best friends.
He's just a personal friend of ours on the
side.
We love him.
We love Eric, and he's also my lifeline. Anytime I have a problem, instead of looking like a dummy, I just call him. I get my 30-second phone call in, and I look really smart again.
And if those of you that are going to be in the Florida APW convention coming up next month, which Chris and I will be there, Chris will be educating. Eric will also be there as well.
Oh, really?
Yes. There's going to be a lot of, sometimes it'll be Eric, Chris, and I. Sometimes it'll be maybe Eric and Chris, me and Eric. So you'll see us, and we're going to get some brochures from him. We're also going to give him some of our brochures so we kind of co-market. So if you guys be patient, because we always know that after he's on, their phones blow up. So be patient, because there's one girl answering the phone and she's got to go through all hundreds and hundreds of you.
So there's a lot of questions maybe we didn't get to. Please forgive us.
We'll go back and answer them.
We'll do the best we can to comment the answers to your questions after this. I want to say, so my son Aaron was on again. He said hashtag road to 5,000.
Did he?
Thank you, Aaron, for that. So Aaron's in Texas. He said hashtag road to 5,000. I want to talk about that for a minute, or as long as you guys want to, because we don't have anywhere to be but here. And that is Federal Injury Center's drive to get 5,000 accepted claims this year. That's a huge goal. Okay, last year we did 1,125, and I'm saying I want to do 4 or 5 times more this year than last year. And the way that works is you got to tell somebody too. You know, you're seeing all this that we're doing, and the way we're able to help you. And all we want in return is to just get one more claim approved, and from there, one more claim approved. I am a highly driven, competitive human being, And she'll tell you, the second I thought 5,000, it was over. Like, it had to happen. And I wonder if you're looking at our social media pages, because our Federal Injury Center's individual offices all have a Federal Injury Center's Facebook page. And so they're posting all of these pictures with people with Federal Injury Center's got my claim approved. And you'll see it on Wednesday night chats. You'll see it on Instagram. We have it all over the place. And the purpose is to say, look, this is a real thing. We're getting claims approved. Dr. Dorfman got another claim approved today. Dr. Cooper had
4 today.
Yeah, 4 people today with their pictures. And Dr. Mills in Greenville, South Carolina, it seems like he's got somebody every single day with an approved claim. So we're burning it up with approved claims. And if we hit 5,000 and there's still time to go, I want more. And I think you do too.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm driven to do something that's never been done before. Nobody's ever been able to say they got 1,000 claims approved before. Okay. And we did that. And I said, okay, fine, let's do 5,000. And I think we're at a place where all of you know somebody else that we can help. And all you've got to do is just say so. And, when you're in our offices, we're going to ask you to post this stuff on your own social media pages, because your friends have a right to know that the help is here.
Yeah.
And without you telling them, they very often have no idea that they don't have to be hopeless, that there is somebody out there that wants to help them. And we're fired up about it. All of our franchise locations are literally on fire for it.
Yeah.
Right?
And
it's almost like a competition between them. Who's going to have the most accepted claims? So help us help your coworkers and let them know that that's what we're doing. #Road to 5,000, like Aaron said.
And every day and every week, I know I go over this, but if you go to this website, federalinjurycenters.com, and click that red giant button at the top, right across from the Federal Injury Center sign, all the locations are there. You got to keep refreshing it maybe every month or so, because we add new doctors. And as soon as I find out that they're ready to go, I'll put them on there. Or if our case managers tell us, okay, this doctor's ready to go in like 1 week, I'll say coming soon. So that means you guys can go ahead and call and start to get scheduled.
And look at all these pins up here. I mean, we've got all these locations that are fully trained, ready to help you. And we have more that we're bringing on always. We're always training new ones, because we know that you always need the help. And but once the doctors are there, somebody's got to let everyone know that, hey, there's help now. Right?
Yeah. And another thing, when you guys get denials, all you got to do, because a lot of you message me and say, I got a denial, and it's actually maybe from our office. There is really nothing I can do to help you other than to say, what office was it? You have to give them a call. Chris and I have no access to anything to get to your files in any way. Now, I'll ask you, can I see the denial if it's another doctor outside of our franchise, because we're still willing to help. A lot of you ask for sample narrative reports to give to your doctors that are not a part of the franchise. We do not do that.
Yeah. Now, okay, just a slight little tweak to that. I can get access to any of your files if you're at one of my franchise locations.
Yeah, I'm talking about the ones that are not.
Yeah. So if you're at one of our offices, I can have access to your files because it's all one big company. And myself, Tom, Jennifer, and Emmy, the 4 of us are always got our hands in somebody's case, making sure that the case gets accepted. And not that our doctors necessarily have to have that, but that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And, we're all motivated equally to get your claims approved. So if you are at one of our offices, we're definitely going to be able to help you out. And we do it all the time.
And then there's a lot of you that are messaging me saying, I have a doctor for you in Houston or in Virginia or whatever. Unfortunately, we will not reach out to the doctor. They have to reach out to us, because what happens is you're saying, can I get your number? So can I get your number to give it to the doctor? You can't do that. They got to go online and send me a message, and it has to come from them. And then I will forward it over to our partner, Joe.
And the reason that is, there's probably a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But the thing that comes to my mind is I don't really like chasing doctors down that don't want to be chased down. Think about it. Do you want a doctor, like, quote, helping you that doesn't really want to help you, right? Do you want a doctor that I had to fight to get to say yes? I don't. I'm just going to say, okay, thanks for the call. We're done. Because I want people who are fired up to help you,
right?
Who can love you the way we do. And so we're very, very picky about the doctors that we have. In the future, we're probably going to bring on fewer ones than we did in the past. but every time we bring somebody on, we're going to be bringing on somebody that's just a straight up OWCP killer.
Yeah.
That's our thing. We just want to win all the time. And so I'm picky about it. I love you guys, and I'm not going to give you somebody that you're unhappy with, because that's going to make me very unhappy.
We've had doctors come to us that want to join our franchise, but unfortunately we have to deny them. We have
they
doctors.
don't have medical doctors.
Yeah.
They don't have nurse practitioners. They don't, their office is in a location that I couldn't be proud of, or it is in the condition that I wouldn't walk into. There's a lot of things, because, if you walk into a Federal Injury Center's office, there's a pretty good chance that I'd walk into it too.
Yeah.
And if I don't want it, why would I want it for you?
Yeah. So here you go. All of our social media pages. This is everywhere you can find us, especially those friends that don't have social media. You can just go on YouTube. You can go to breakingowcp.com for any of the books. Remember, Eric helped write the
third
book, and the information about the schedule awards is in the second book.
Yeah. Now I have a lot of the third book left, because it's the newest one. They're paperback books. You can also get them on PDF, which is my preference. Not that I want you to have the books, but I want you to put Breaking OWCP in your pocket, because if you have it saved to your phone is always on you.
Oh my gosh.
It's always in your pocket. And then when the supervisor says, no, I don't have to give you a CA-16, you can pull up to the chapter on rules, laws, and regulations and say, yeah, what about this rule, buddy? It says you have to do it. It says you shall issue it.
Yeah. Here's a question. I have an approved claim, but couldn't find a doctor to take my claim, so I've been using my personal insurance. I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. Is there a doctor in Greenville?
So we have an office in Greenville, South Carolina, that is getting claims approved at a record pace.
Yeah.
Go to federalinjurycenters.com. Look up here in a minute. You'll see it. And at the top of the page is a red box that says find a location. And go to the locations tab and scroll down to South Carolina, and you'll find the one and only office we have in South Carolina happens to be in Greenville. You're welcome.
And let's see, any more questions?
And Derek, we desperately want to help you. Like, no kidding. We desperately want to get your claim approved. So please reach out to them. There's the box, federalinjurycenters.com. Go to that red box, and the phone number directly to that office and their office address is listed there.
Just going to answer this question for Nancy, or ask Chris this question. How do you find out what rate OWCP is paying you? Meaning, UPS told you to fill out a CA-2A after returning to work from original injury. How do you find out if they are paying you the correct rate for pay?
So when you fill out your CA-7s, once your claim's approved and it's LWOP, you need to look at what the supervisor writes on the second page, because your pay rate's there. You're going to be locked into to your pay rate you're at when you got hurt until you get back to work for, I think, like 6 months, full duty. So your pay rate at the time of injury is going to be your pay rate, and your supervisor is going to fill out page 2 of your CA-7 on eComp. And look, they screw up all the time. I've seen so many of these CA-7s where the pay rate's not even listed. That's going to hurt a little bit when it's time to get your paycheck and you get a denial letter or nothing at all. So double check your CA-7s and see what your supervisors are writing on the second page.
Yeah. All right. So look, we're going to do our housekeeping real quick. We are off to Jacksonville tomorrow. We are meeting with AJ. Those of you guys that know AJ from APW in Florida.
And if you're a clerk in Florida and you don't know AJ, you are missing some of the best things in life.
Yeah.
She is a fantastic lady.
So we'll be seeing her on Friday. We are also going to be heading over to our Jacksonville office to tie up any loose ends.
And by the way, though, the Jacksonville office is up and running. If you're in that area, Dr. McLaren and his staff, I was just on the phone with him today, working out a couple of the bugs. Fully worked out. That guy's on fire too. So if you're in Jacksonville, and so many of you are, it's like the 12th most populous city in the country.
Yeah.
And the largest by square mile. So there's a lot of you there, and he's there waiting on you. And
then next Wednesday, we won't be on. We will actually be traveling to Miami, and I get to see my sister who's coming in from Oregon. So we're going to take that day off. And
also, she said we're going to be in Miami. I love Miami. If you haven't been to Miami, holy cow. All the bad stuff you heard about it probably is true, but man, the good stuff is great. It's a fun place to be.
I know we said we were going to do wood shop night.
Woodshed.
We're going to move the date, and I'm going to repost it only because Next Wednesday and the following Wednesday, we're actually in the air. And
Sorry about that, folks.
We are all over. We are only home for 10 days in March. That's it. And
we're doing some union trainings, APW, AFGE union trainings. And again, thank you so much to those two unions for consistently inviting us out. So it's a real gift.
So next Wednesday, we're in Fort Lauderdale Wednesday. Thursday, we leave to go to Vegas. We're in Vegas to go check out locations to talk to a doctor out there. Monday, we leave Vegas and we go to Colorado for the AFGE coal and mine training. Then we come back home for 2 days, have a graduation, and then we head to Sacramento for APW's convention.
Yep.
And then the following week, we will be doing the Florida APW State Convention in Orlando.
And when she says we're doing the convention, they give us 2 or 3 hours, and I get to get up and teach. I got a presentation. In fact, I'm gonna overhaul it completely because I've done the presentation so many times that I don't want to shortchange anybody that's already seen it once. And so you're going to get some new stuff in the new presentation. But I get a chance to speak usually about 3 hours to the whole group. And it's a lot of fun for me because this is one of the rare times I actually get to. We're there, but you couldn't pay her to get on the stage. And I don't like to get off of the stage. So it works out fine. But it's one of the, these are the rare times I get to actually see you in person. So the places where we're going to be, she's going to list it as they're coming up.
Yeah.
And if you're in those areas, it would just be such an honor if you'd come out and say hi.
So here's the only negative thing. Like, we're going to be in the first one. No, I'm not talking about AFG. I'm talking about like anything to do with the USPS. If we're in an area, let's say we're going to be doing the convention for APW in Orlando. When he's training, we can't invite other crafts to come in because this is just for APW.
But if you sneak in the back door, that's on you.
If you come,
okay, don't do that.
You unfortunately can't do that. But any other craft is still welcome to come see us. We normally have a booth, a little table.
Come see us.
We give away free books and pens and all the fun stuff that we have. So you can come by and chat with us if you are in the Orlando area. But you can't be in the training because this is not something that we can control.
Not without permission from the organizer of the.
And if we do that for one, we have to do it for all, so we don't get involved with that.
Yeah,
but
it's not my show.
Definitely come see us if you are in any of the areas. Again, the first one that you'll be able to come out and see us will be the Sacramento APW and then Florida APW conventions. And that's it, guys.
So I want to say thanks. I like to acknowledge the doctors that are on. I didn't necessarily see them all, but obviously our Greenville, South Carolina office is very active tonight. Dr. Cooper is always active. Thanks for being here, the two of you. I saw Tim Vandeman here. He's in Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland. He's got 5 or 6 or I don't know how many offices. Just yesterday, he said, okay, hey, it's time to open another one. So he's going to make sure that if you're in the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area, you don't have to drive very far. I think eventually all of his offices will be in your backyard. And then Dr. Dorfman was here in Melbourne and Titusville, Florida.
We had Dr. Karich.
Dr. Karich was here in South Bend, Indiana. Go Irish. Who else was here tonight?
Now I can't see it, but there was a lot of our doctors on tonight.
Yeah, and they're going to be here. So, if you saw them and they're interacting with you, that's because they really care about you and they're just trying to help. So thanks to all of you Federal Injury Centers doctors for being here tonight and helping out while we were talking with Eric.
So what's going to happen is the next 2 Wednesdays we will be traveling. So we will tell you the next time we're going to be.
But
we're still going to post.
She posts on social media, I think, in her sleep sometimes. So you're going to see what's up.
We are very transparent. We're always going to be very transparent. And this goes out to all the unions and all the people that watch us and friends and family. If we put everything out there because we want you to see that this is who we are. I mean, there's nothing for us to hide. We have nothing to hide. It's just me and Chris and our baggage that eats up our money and lives in our home and our little doggies.
Some of the kids. Felita, we've got an office. Dr. McMorris is just south of Baton Rouge. And so check that out. You just go to the locations tab and go to Louisiana. You'll see his office, his address and phone number. He's got a fantastic, beautiful first-class office down there. And he's getting work done too. So go give him a call if you need him.
And don't forget, if you haven't gone over to Breaking OWCP, please go over there and click the follow button because we will be streaming with our podcast on there. We're just
on Facebook
finishing up a few little things. And this will also be streaming on other platforms once Chris gets going and we just tie up all the loose ends.
We're going to stream the podcast everywhere that you can find a podcast. But we're usually going to also broadcast them live on the Breaking OWCP Facebook page for those of you that want to see it live and not wait for the recording to drop on the podcast.
And eventually we'll have a call-in line number where you can call in and chit chat too. So with that said, guys, we hope the last couple Wednesdays that we've done have really taught you some stuff and had Eric on here explaining about MMI and schedule awards. And we will see you guys back on the 17th. If we happen to have time in any of those places, if we land early, we will hop on and we will do Q&A.
And lastly, go check out Breaking OWCP on TikTok. If you don't have a TikTok account, that means you're not wasting the time that I do every day on it because it's so fun.
It's so addicting.
But I put stuff on there too.
Yes.
Some of it's just totally ridiculous and others of it is totally educational. But none of it takes a lot of your time. If you only look at my stuff, you'll be fine, but you'll also be super bored because TikTok is funny. So Breaking OWCP on TikTok.
All right, guys. Good night, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.